name that said you own this lot and blocking it. That was, man, I could have died and went to heaven. Who would have ever thought? I was a welfare kid. I used to get Goodwill clothes for Christmas, like from the Goodwill agency, not from the door on Christmas. Like, here's your hand-me-downs. Like, I grew up in poverty. My stepfather went to prison for like 13 years. My biological father left when I was 3 months old. He left, went to Nebraska. I didn't see him again until I was 7, and again until I was 9, and again until I was 17, where we started selling drugs together.
Oh, man.
So who would have thought? I dropped out of high school at 16. So who would have thought that one day I could be the owner of a property and had a tenant who was maybe a middle-aged white woman with 2 kids who was calling me the landlord? I was in a position of power through ownership. So that's what sparked in me, which then opened my eyes to, wow, I can be my own independent contractor as a realtor and as a mortgage agent. I can own another property, be another property. And I can start to build wealth. And I get an LLC. I can have my own corporation, my own business cards. So all those things that no one ever told me that I could do with this raw potential, all those things, they like turned me out and made me like, I love this. I don't have to sell drugs and sit in jail and shower around men every day and have a 10 o'clock bedtime. So I don't have to go to jail and I can make money. Oh man, I'm in. I'm sold. Right? I don't even have to, right now I'm running some really successful companies, and you're telling me that I have employees, people that I'm boss to? That morale boost, that self-esteem boost of ownership is what's missing in the community and the actual pass down of assets and wealth. It's the only way to fix it. And it boosts our social morale. But there's also a component politically that has to be addressed is on our sides. How did black people get in the position of being dead last in America in all these, in the condition they're in poverty, in the ghettos, which is...
And some of it is systemic.
A lot of it's systemic. For this point only, I'm going to say.
Put them there.
Yes, that put them there. I believe in, again, the self-accountability. I never get past self-accountability. Someone say, oh, you're making excuses. No. Self-accountability. We have to do better as a people. But before we get to B or C or D, we have to address A, the cause, before we even get to the effect, right? So the cause of our lack of family wealth, lack of education, lack of financial education, is that we spent 300 years as a people illegal to read and write, illegal to own businesses, and forbidden to own land for 3 centuries. And then after that, right into Jim Crow, another century. So you can't fully just focus on blaming the people and just self-empowerment when we were victimized as a people for centuries without those privileges. That is the most horrific start for any ethnicity in America.
See, I think the focus becomes not what was history, but that they actually tools now that anyone can be empowered.
Correct.
You know, they and
but how do we?
But many of them don't know what those tools are.
True. But we have to look at how do we rectify history, right? Because history shows that when there's been that kind of level of human rights violations, right? Like I said, with the Japanese Americans who were in internment camps and got their freedom stripped, they got 1.6 billion in reparation for them and their heirs to boost, right? To boost themselves. When the Native Americans went through their trauma, they got land sovereignty in millions to boost themselves, to prepare themselves. When the German Jews went through the 12-year Holocaust, they got 1.6 billion in Israel and resources to boost themselves, to prepare themselves. So why
Americans, or new Africans, as we're called, as we try to get our identity in human and world court as a people, right? Because African Americans not a people, as per world court and civil court and Supreme Court. We're not considered a people. But we have to identify ourselves as people, actually be a people. But how can that people of African Americans, blacks, aka new Africans, how can we get the same boost, the same repair that those other ethnicities got during? Right, because everyone says look past history, but how do you just sweep history under the rug when it had an implication on the present?
Well,
it has a direct correlation to the present.
You identify what is right now in the system that continues in urban areas is so sorely lacking.
Give me a pound for that.
You know,
you're right. Though education is a big component.
And things like what Mayor De Blasio is saying, and many others about, should be universal pre-K. You know, I've talked to many educators. You know, the young people who, before they go to school, may be in a difficult environment that school can help rectify by bringing them into learning more sooner.
Right, I agree with that.
You know, so universal pre-K. You know, let's fix the education system. And
Teaching financial literacy in school.
Oh, absolutely.
They have to learn real financial principles in school.
I actually was part of one at Essex County College about 2 months ago. Was it that I did that?
Yeah.
Where we actually had the first one at Essex County College.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was an all-day thing, and it went through all different types of things: savings plans, retirements, insurance, you know, just the basics. You know, that you know, it's the lack of knowledge. I mean, of all people, not just urban, but urban is even further behind. You know, so yeah, financial literacy is huge. Right. You know.
No, I agree. I think the education component would make a major
or why my academy is successful and why our message is successful is because we're teaching financial literacy, home ownership, investing in real estate in a very plain way. And showing people how they can have success. And I'm getting into entrepreneur branding and entrepreneur training.
Well, and see, that's the other component is economic uplift.
Correct.
You know, teach them to be entrepreneurs. Teach them how to take. Maybe they are a good HVAC guy. Right. But they don't know how to run a business.
Correct.
You know.
Because you could be a good operator, or a good tradesman, or a good at your craft doesn't mean you're a good business owner. And there's a skill to being a business owner.
Right. And see, that's why my involvement with East Orange Chamber of Commerce. I don't know if you know, it's a #1 city for people of color in America, with 96%, recently beating out East St. Louis, right? At 94%. So when Pelosi is one who asked me to come and work with them there, you know, for running financial awards and whatnot. But you know, I had my motivation, but my thing was, I don't want to come in there and help somebody make a lot of money. I want to have everybody make a little more money. Right. You know, more businesses, so that more businesses can employ another employee. Correct. You know, reduce the unemployment, which reduces the poverty level. Correct. You know,
it trickles down.
Yeah.
Economic stimulation.
Exactly.
Exactly. And we have to. So for us, as
mostly in these urban communities, which is another, I guess, direct component again that I argue, my contention is that the government participated in redlining, which actually centered African American people in these inner cities, in these areas, that also created this economic condition. You know, which is why the suburbs are the suburbs and why the inner cities are inner cities. That was actually strategically done, and it's a fact. So my thing is again, I agree with all your points. I had the same conversation with my friend Dave Brown from Alpine, right? 50-something-year-old white guy, architect. I was selling his $10 million house in Alpine, really, really close, like this. And I share my community beliefs with all my friends of all races and ages, you know. And he was saying the same thing as you. And that's, I guess, part of the, I don't want to say with frustration, because what you're saying is right, 1,000% right? As far as the education, economic stimulation. And it's something that, I guess, for me, what I'm trying to say is, collectively as do African Black people, we have to take these initiatives on for ourselves and take whatever aid and resources we can get from people that hear our plight and see our struggle, right? So I'm all open arms and welcome to that, because it's a collaborative effort to help repair us. But I still will never let our voices die in regards to government accountability for our condition. And that's the part that people don't want to touch and get into. But I can make every logical point where no one can rebut that it's right that our government has some accountability, because it's liable for the condition of Black people.
I absolutely agree. Ability from those who caused the system, and you can point the finger at government who was part of it.
Right, and there are also corporations and other people as well.
I mean, as far as the other examples you used of reparation, I don't really agree that we're just going to hand all this money over. I think
I don't think it has to be money either. For all money.
That's it.
Yeah. So when I say reparation, I'm not just saying dollars.
Maybe it is funding pre-K. Okay, maybe it is providing low interest or loans or grants for people who want to start businesses in urban areas that fall within certain criteria. But making those financial resources available to help change those systemic problems that they cause.
Absolutely. So for me, when I say reparation, it's not just saying, hey, give black people a bunch of money, and that's not going to solve the problem, right? So it's not that.
No, not without the education, not without financial literacy, not without
all of those components. And maybe it's you have to pass this kind of course, a social and economic course, to be eligible for a certain grant or reparation or whatever it is. My whole thing is repairing our people and having our human rights violations or crimes against the community, against our ancestors addressed, right? Like, that's just the noble thing to do to me. Like, I mean, I think anyone would do it for, any people that they see going through the current conditions and old conditions. So, but my whole thing is that I like the fact that you said, it's just, let's get to the table and just call it what it is. It's not a race card, it's not a finger pointing, it's not anything, it's just, we say we're a country of liberty and justice for all, right? So let's have liberty and justice for all. And when you look at the condition of New African people and all the parts that were played into it, if you want to say, it's like, if you want to reconcile with your wife, right? You did something wrong against your wife, you know what I mean? Maybe you snapped out one day, you snapped her, or you cheated on her, or you stole some money from her, or something like that. You did something horrible to your wife. If you really want to be fair and just towards your wife, and you wanted to reconcile that relationship, there'll be some effort towards that reconciliation, saying, I truly am sorry, not just an apology sorry, but I'm action worthy sorry, because I do understand that I offended you and I hurt you, and that there's trauma caused by that, right? So that's all I'm really saying. And let's get there, so collectively, because it hurts me. Like, I go to Baltimore, I go to Detroit, I go to Chicago, I go to Patterson, I go to Brook, people, and it's not that people of other races aren't hurting as well, but I'm saying, for me, being of this descent, of African descent, and just seeing the real conditions. I'm talking about the real West Side Baltimore, where outside the school there's nothing but a row of in North. Yeah, I could Philly. I mean, we could name, So it's like, it hurts to see that's the conditions that we're in, and some of it's self-inflicted. Or you can even say a lot of it's self-inflicted. I don't mind taking any kind of blame, but as much as we're going to say it's self-inflicted, it's also system-inflicted. And that is what it is. So it's like we have to point the finger at both, two fingers, self and system. System and self, actually. The system came first, then self. And let's address those things, let's rectify those things, reconcile those things. And then I think there's a whole different air within our...
Even though I would agree with you about system issues, is it something that we can really make a difference with? Where I know, if I talk to a group of individuals who are looking to be entrepreneurials in an urban area, those people I can affect and empower with knowledge of how better to run their business, provide resources and loans or grants, and that I know I can affect.
Right.
Right. So maybe, I guess my question is, what do you think we can do to help with this, or to what extent?
Oh, no, I appreciate that. So right now in Baltimore, organizing there. I've met with the State's Assemblyman Antonio Hayes there. A couple of city councilmen there, Brandon Scott, Councilman Mosby. Everyone is interested in the concept that we're bringing, and I've also met with the commissioner of housing, there, and we identified some areas right around the elementary school that actually goes pre-K to 12th grade, which is weird. But it's a school that covers, it's like 390 kids, covers all those grades. It's in an area with a lot of blighted properties where right outside the school windows are a row of abandoned houses. Like, the kids see that all day. So
it might be on the other side of where we're talking about.
Okay, tell me.
And all that. What do you think about things like
raising minimum wage?
Yeah, do you think that's something that would be encouraged that would help in the system? Or
I think anyone would appreciate that, but I think that our real point, what we just said, like, so in that area, or like what we're trying to affect, I think is really that business training, grants for home ownership, educational financial literacy. I think those are the biggest things.